Colleen, and thanks for joining me. This is where we talk about everything that is the paranormal. I hope you guys are having a great day so far. So, for today's video, I thought I would talk about Maltby Cemetery. This place is definitely known to have some paranormal activity attached to it. I always think it's really interesting to talk about cemeteries because cemeteries are definitely a place that are known to be a place where souls are at rest. But there are definitely some cemeteries around the globe that is not the case at all. And I always find it really fascinating to find out the history why that is. Just because, like I said before, this is a place where people go to lay their deceased loved ones to rest. This is a place where they're supposed to be at peace. And for the most part, like, I don't believe that's where your deceased loved ones hang out. So when it's souls and stuff, or like the paranormal, when paranormal activity happens at cemeteries, I don't believe it's the souls of your restless loved ones. It's usually some kind of negative spirits or entities attached to the paranormal activity at cemeteries, which is why I believe people are always so drawn to these type of stories. So I've never like really experienced any like creepy things at cemeteries. I've always like never really had an issue with them. But there are two cemeteries that for some reason just like always creep me out. Um, yeah, which is funny because they're actually both technically in the same town, and it's really weird. For some reason, like I've actually been in now in the daytime because unfortunately one of my family members is actually buried in the cemetery, and having gone in there during the day, um, it actually is a very beautiful cemetery, and I didn't have any issues being in there, and I didn't feel anything weird or anything off in the cemetery at all. Driving past it at night, for some reason, I do still feel weird. I think it's just because when I was younger and growing up, I just always had this weird, eerie feeling about it. So I think I just can't shake it. But this other one is a very, very old cemetery. And for some reason, when I was a child, always closed my eyes during the day and even at night driving past this cemetery. I hate this cemetery. I haven't driven past it in probably over 20 years. Um, I kind of want to go to it. I still don't live that far from it just to see how I feel about it. I've looked it up, like both of them. They don't have any haunted histories or anything attached to them that I could like find. So I don't know what it is about those cemeteries. But yeah, they just creep me out. But other than that, like I've never encountered any cemeteries that have given me any weird vibes or anything like that. And of course, Maltby Cemetery is one that does not have a, you know, happy spirits at the cemetery. Let's say it like that. So I'm gonna stop rambling and let's get into the history and story of Maltby Cemetery.
Maltby Cemetery, or as it's known today, Paradise Lake Cemetery, has many urban legends associated with it. The cemetery seems to have been established around 1886 per the oldest headstone in the graveyard. It should also be noted that this cemetery is still active as there are headstones as recent as of 2018.
So it should always be noted that like when you're going into these cemeteries, like if you're someone who wants to go and try and find the, paranormal activity that's attached to Maltby Cemetery, Paradise Lake Cemetery, you should be very aware that someone could have just laid their loved one to rest. So just always remember to be respectful of things like that.
Some of the creepy things associated with the cemetery are satanic cult rituals, random murders, and of course the most famous, the 13 Steps to Hell. Bodies have been found in the woods surrounding the cemetery, which adds to the eerie lore attached to it and could explain why there could be paranormal activity in the cemetery. Locals have reported seeing apparitions of a woman and child wearing ragged clothes from the 1890s to the 1930s era. Many of the headstones in the cemetery match this period, making the sightings more credible. However, the most famous urban legend to come out of this cemetery is, of course, the 13 Steps to Hell. The steps were supposedly located in a section of the original Maltby Cemetery near Bothell, Washington, used from 1905 to 1967. Legend says that they led down to the tomb of a wealthy family and somehow ended up cursed with connections to Satan. Apparently, if someone dared to walk down these steps, the further they descended, the quieter the world around them would become until they reached the bottom, where suddenly they were filled with visions of hell. Stories claim people witnessing their friends climbing down the steps would suddenly see their friends fall to the ground screaming in terror at something the witnesses couldn't see themselves. Other people claim the steps completely disappeared when they reached the bottom, only to reappear miles away hours later. There are even stories of young adults and children walking down the steps and suddenly being trapped in a coma or not being able to speak ever again after walking down those stairs.
The location where the steps actually exist is really hard to pinpoint. As I mentioned earlier in the video, they are associated with the tomb of a wealthy family. However, other stories claim the steps appear randomly at night throughout the cemetery and then just disappear. The actual site today where the steps existed is private property. Reports state the location where the steps once were located has been torn down, bulldozed, and actually filled in with cement. However, many believe that the steps have just gotten harder to find over the years. If you follow the idea that the steps just appear randomly out of nowhere at night. Even though a lot of these stories have just been passed down through generations, a lot of them are just hearsay, this legend still inspires many visitors, especially during spooky season, all hoping to get a glimpse, for some reason, of hell. It should also be noted that due to the heavy interest in this legend, there is a strict enforcement of the no trespassing policy at this cemetery. So if you are inclined to go to Washington and visit Paradise Lake Cemetery in hopes of finding the 13 steps to hell, or just trying to see if you can see any apparitions or anything, please make sure you get some kind of permission, or just go to the cemetery during visiting hours or whatever. And also be respectful of the fact that this is an actual cemetery where people's loved ones are buried. So anyway, that is all I have for you today on Maltby Cemetery and the 13 Steps to Hell. If you are interested, there is lots of information. There's like lots of stories out there about Maltby Cemetery. I'm not the only one who's covered this, obviously. Um, you can actually go to Reddit. There are people who have talked about their own personal experiences about it. They're very similar to some of the stories here. Some people have like just flat out said nothing's happened when they've gone there. Some people have said it's just very, very creepy when they go there. People who like grew up in Washington and stuff. Some people said they just never found the steps. Some people said they found steps that they think might be them. It's a little interesting, you know. A lot of it, people said they were drunk when they went there, you know, under the influence of some substances. So take it with a grain of salt, but they are some interesting stories or whatever. Let me know also if you guys have ever been to Maltby Cemetery, Paradise Lake Cemetery, and if you've ever had any experiences there. I would love to know what you guys think. Also, if you've ever heard of this story before, this is actually pretty new to me. Even though like I love the paranormal and I've been like, you know, had my own experiences and things like that, there are so many lores and legends and stuff as I research stuff. I constantly find new things to talk about. I thought this was really interesting just because, again, things with cemeteries I always find fascinating just because cemeteries are usually places of comfort and rest. So anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please feel free to give it a like. If you also really liked it, please feel free to subscribe. You don't have to do any of that. I won't be offended. Yeah, so have a great day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.